Welcome to Topic 2 in Remote Teaching 101. Online learning obviously has a very large component of what we do when we're remote teaching. With the advent of the internet, online teaching became a pretty common thing that institutions, primarily universities at the first, started in the early 2000s. Primarily this is because of the text-to-text based communication. A system was set up basically that created discussion boards, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this topic. Anyway, online learning really comes from distance education field. The foundation of distance education goes back a long way, where correspondence courses were sent to students. And teachers graded, if they were, back in 100 years ago, teachers at most would have graded paper and returned them via mail. It could have taken even a couple months if it was on the other side of the world or in another state or province of North America. But the distance education foundations are still evident in online learning today. Much of the differences between face-to-face learning and online learning have to do with the fact that the learner is at a different distance. Being at a distance means that there's a few things educators or the teacher can't actually control. You can't control if the student's sitting there. You can't control if they're engaged. You actually don't know. You can't control if they're stopping and talking to somebody else, or if they're doing that more than listening to you. So you sort of have to plan that, in fact, the students are going to be a fair bit more independent than they are in a face-to-face situation. That's actually perhaps one of the greatest advantages that our emergency move to remote teaching and learning in 2020 and now in 2021 are certainly going to have on the field of education, because this, I don't think, is going to go away. Students understanding that they have flexibility, anytime, anywhere access, opportunity for unique collaborations, access to materials and resources, and basically can do things that you can't when you're in a classroom. I don't think all that is going to return to the way it was after. So, having considered these things and some of the differences in online and face-to-face teaching, I hope you can think about what kinds of things students might have access to in terms of perhaps interruptions, interruptions in their studying, or perhaps things that really benefit them, like guiding themselves, taking steps to travel down a line. How about posting in a classroom? We've all had that student who's really quiet. That's one of the biggest things I've always heard about online learning. Students that are in online learning situations tend to be able to post their opinions, whereas in classrooms where if they're a shy person, tend not to. So hopefully you've seen some of the differences, maybe some you haven't heard of before, and hope you learned something new as we explored the differences between online and face-to-face learning. With that, see you online.